Before every house had Wi-Fi, before every room had a screen, and long before people asked a little speaker in the kitchen to tell them the weather, homes had a completely different rhythm. If you are over 60, there is a good chance you remember it. The sound of a kettle starting to whistle, the heavy clunk of a phone being placed back on the wall, the smell of polish on wooden furniture. The one drawer in the kitchen that had string, batteries, rubber bands, old keys, and absolutely no explanation. Younger people look at some of these things now and have no idea what they were for. But for a lot of us, they were just part of ordinary life. So today, let's take a slow walk through the house we grew up in and see how many of these you still remember. And stay with me for the last one because it might be the smallest thing on the list, but somehow it says the most about how different life used to be. First, the telephone table. Not just the telephone, the table. In many homes, the phone had its own little station. It might have sat in the hallway, near the front door, or in a corner of the living room. Sometimes there was a small chair beside it. Sometimes there was a little shelf underneath with the phone book, a notepad, a pencil, and a few numbers written down in handwriting that everyone in the house recognized. And that phone did not move. If you wanted privacy, bad luck. You stretched the cord as far as it would go and hoped nobody was listening from the next room. If you were a teenager, you learned the exact sound of your mother picking up the extension in the kitchen. There was no texting, no missed call screen. If the phone rang, everybody heard it. And if nobody answered, that was it. The moment was gone. But somehow, people still found each other. And right near that phone, there was often another household treasure, the address book. Not contacts, not the cloud, a real address book. It had names crossed out, new addresses squeezed into the margins, and phone numbers changed from one town code to another over the years. Some pages were neat, some were a battlefield. And if someone had moved house 3 times, you could almost see their life story written in corrections. There was something personal about it. You did not just tap a name. You remembered people by handwriting, by suburbs, by old surnames, by little notes beside their number. And if the address book disappeared, the whole family was in trouble. Now, let's go to the kitchen, because every proper kitchen had a tin. Not just one tin, several tins. There was the biscuit tin, which may or may not have actually had biscuits in it. Sometimes you opened it expecting shortbread and found sewing supplies. Buttons, needles, thread, safety pins, and one mysterious thimble that seemed to be older than the house. Then there was the tea tin, or the sugar tin, or the tin that had been kept long after the original contents were gone because it was too useful to throw away. People did not call that recycling, they just called it common sense. A good tin could hold anything: receipts, screws, Christmas decorations, old coins, spare buttons, family photos, seeds for the garden. If you were lucky, actual biscuits. And that brings us to something every child knew. Never trust a tin until you opened it. Now here is one that younger people really struggle to understand: the good room. Some houses had a room that was almost too good to sit in. The furniture was covered. The carpet was protected. The ornaments were dusted but rarely touched. There might have been a cabinet with glass doors, full of cups, plates, little figurines, and things that were apparently very important but never used. Visitors could sit there, maybe. Children could look from the doorway. And if you walked through with muddy shoes, you knew about it very quickly. The good room was not really about showing off. It was about pride. People worked hard for what they had, and when they finally had something nice, they looked after it. Today, everything is casual. Sofas are for eating on, phones go everywhere, rooms are open plan. But back then, a house had rules, and somehow, everyone knew them. Speaking of rules, let's talk about the television. One television, in one room, and for many families it had no remote control. That meant somebody had to get up, usually the youngest. You were the remote. You changed the channel by hand, adjusted the volume by hand, and sometimes stood near the set while someone said, "No, go back, the other one. No, not that far." And if the picture went fuzzy, there was a whole ritual. Someone adjusted the aerial, someone tapped the side of the set, someone stood in exactly the right place, holding their arm slightly out, and somehow the picture improved. It sounds ridiculous now, but at the time, it was normal. Television also ended. That is the part younger people really do not understand. There was not always something else to watch. Sometimes the station closed down for the night, and that was that. You went to bed because the television was finished with you. Now, back in the kitchen again, there was the calendar. Not a digital calendar, not reminders popping up on a screen. A paper calendar, usually hanging on the wall, with birthdays, appointments, school events, bills, and family visits written in pen. Sometimes it came free from the local butcher, chemist, real estate agent, or mechanic. Sometimes each month had a picture of a beach, a farm, a puppy, or a mountain scene that nobody had ever been to. That calendar ran the house. If it was not written on the calendar, it was not happening. And near it, quite often, was the kitchen clock. The kitchen clock was not just for telling the time. It set the pace of the day. Breakfast before school, dad home from work, dinner in the oven, news at 6, bath time, bedtime. Homes had a sound then. A ticking clock, a boiling kettle, a screen door closing, someone washing dishes in the sink. Which brings us to the washing up bowl. Before dishwashers became normal, the sink was where half the household conversations happened. One person washed, one person dried. Someone complained that the tea towel was too wet. Someone else tried to sneak away before the pots were done. And there was always a system. Glasses first, then plates, then cutlery, then the greasy pans last. If you got the order wrong, someone corrected you. That sounds small, but it mattered. It was how children learned to help. It was how families talked without making a big event of it. You heard about school, work, neighbors, money worries, and who was coming over on Sunday, all while drying plates. Today, a lot of that has vanished into separate rooms and separate screens. Now let's talk about something that sat quietly in many homes: the sewing basket. Even people who did not sew much had one. Inside were spare buttons, thread, needles, tape measures, patches, elastic, hooks, press studs, and tiny hotel sewing kits kept just in case. Clothes were repaired, socks were darned, hems were let down, buttons were sewn back on. A rip did not automatically mean something was rubbish. There was a kind of patience in that, a belief that things could be fixed, and that idea stretched across the whole house. If a chair leg was loose, someone glued it. If a radio stopped working, someone took the back off and had a look, even if they had no business doing so. If a toy broke, it might get tape, wire, glue, or a spare screw from the tin in the shed. Not everything survived, but everything got a chance. Now, there is one object that might bring back a very particular memory: the fruit bowl. Almost every home had one, and it was never as simple as it looked. There were apples, bananas, maybe oranges, and sometimes one piece of fruit that nobody wanted but everyone kept moving around. If visitors were coming, the fruit bowl looked better. If money was tight, it stretched further. But in some homes, the fruit bowl also had keys, coins, receipts, hair clips, a watch, and something that definitely did not belong there. It was less a fruit bowl and more a household landing strip. And beside it, depending on the home, there might have been a little dish for matches. Because matches were everywhere. For the stove, for candles, for the heater, for dad's cigarettes if that was part of your house. Matchboxes had local businesses on them, hotel names, restaurants, clubs, places people had visited once and kept the box for 20 years. Today, even that feels like another world. Now we come to the last one, the handwritten note. It might have been stuck to the fridge, left on the kitchen table, tucked under a magnet, pinned near the phone, written on the back of an envelope. Dinner in oven. Back after 6. Don't forget milk. Gone to Nan's. Just a few words, nothing fancy. But those little notes held a household together. Before messages could be sent instantly, people left proof that they had thought of each other. That is what so many of these things have in common. The telephone table, the address book, the biscuit tin, the good room, the one television, the kitchen calendar, the washing up bowl, the sewing basket, the fruit bowl, the handwritten note. They were ordinary, almost invisible. But they belonged to a time when homes moved a little slower, when things were repaired instead of replaced, when people remembered phone numbers, when the whole family watched the same program, when a note on the table was enough. And maybe that is why these old household things stay with us. Not because they were perfect, they were not, but because they remind us of people. Parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters, neighbors, the sound of someone making tea, the smell of dinner, the quiet comfort of knowing where everything was, even if the biscuit tin was full of buttons. So here's the question. Which one of these did your home have? And what is something from your childhood home that younger people today would not understand at all? Leave it in the comments. Because sometimes, the smallest memory opens the biggest door. And if you remember these, you will probably remember the strange things every backyard used to have as well.